Welcome to episode 286 of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel, Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry. And today, recapping the Bears, I forgot what week it is, but the win against the Houston Texans. I'm recording this. We got about 8 minutes left, but we're running away with it. So if anything crazy happens at the end, I might have missed that. But I am tired and I'm ready for a nap. So if it's either now or never. But anyway, even though it was kind of a blowout, I feel like there's a lot to talk about here, at least a lot of lessons to learn from this. And that might sound counterintuitive, but the Bears are good because it's messy. It's messy in the sense that it makes those that want to be black and white, which I hate those people. But the ones that want to be black and white, you're this, they're that. It's this, and that's what it is. It makes them look wrong. It makes them very hard to actually know what they're talking about because you have to look at the nuance with a team like the Bears, especially. And so what I mean by that, first off, you got a team or defense that I think is a talented roster. And I've said before, overall, I think we have a very talented roster. And so that was on display today. Whereas I'm like, okay, with Deshaun Watson and his O-line, while you got a bad O-line, but we're not great at pass rush. One thing we've done the last 3 years is our secondary does really well outside of just straight up bombs. We do really well. A lot of quarterbacks have real hard times being able to decipher it, and we cause coverage sacks. So I figured, especially without any weapons, that's what's going to happen to Watson. And that's exactly what happened. And even though we had 5 sacks or whatever we end up with, it was clearly most of them were covered sacks. And so it's like, okay, everybody can get on board with that. But then you'll have some people say, well, what about last week? You had a Lions roster that's not super great, torch us for 400 some yards. So obviously we can't be that good, because that's where the nuance comes in. Because with that roster, or not that roster, I keep saying that, but with that team, you have a different quarterback. You have Matt Stafford, who, for those that are the hardcore fans, you watch the film, you saw me, go through Stafford making great plays with great anticipation, knowing exactly where things were going to be. And obviously, his weapons are better than what the Texans came into today with, but still, you just look at the decision making and just the efficiency of it. Whereas with a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, it's not going to be like that. And so there's the nuance there. But then on top of that, you got all these people. We already know what's about to happen. Oh my God, we should have had Watson, and everybody thinks, first of all, I'm not disputing Watson nor Mahomes are better than Trubisky. I was not even that much of a fan of Trubisky coming out. But at the same time, I've said for years, Watson isn't the quarterback people are trying to hype him up to be. And so, again, you see when you get into tough situations like this, where being able to run around, everybody keeps talking about how mobile and blah, blah, blah. Even with Trubisky, that don't mean much. Because there's quarterbacks that stay in the pocket and have won a lot and have thrown a whole lot of yards. So, at the end of the day, all that extending the play might mean something here and there, but for the long term of the season, I don't think that matters as much. But then you turn around and, as I mentioned earlier, you talk about the context that you had Deshaun Watson come in here without any, I mean, not say any, but most of his top weapons are gone. And then you had injuries on defense, and then you had injuries on the O-line. And so And the O-line's not even that great to begin with. So you got a whole lot of different things going on that you have to take into context, where Watson obviously and the Texans weren't going to be at full throttle. And so that's why I like it, because I like the Bears and other teams too, but obviously we follow the Bears. I like it because it's messy. It doesn't give you that clear black and white. I mean, it's the same thing we've been doing the last 2 years, where you got fans yelling at me, it's Nagy's fault, it's the play calling, and then they switch play calling. Well, it still sucks. Oh, it's Trubisky. No, it's Foles. No, it's the O-line. No, it's the run game. No, like, that's exactly why I like the Bears. Obviously, to an extent, I want us to just be dominant and winning championships, but I like it because it makes a lot of these people, have to be hypocrites and have to show that they're being hypocrites, because it's not easy. You could, as much as anybody wants to stand here and tell me that they know it's like this and it's like that, they don't. Because there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of context that goes into every single situation. And anybody that's deep into the game, you know that. So, as of today though, we got a win, and I would say the Bears did what they should have done. I mean, not only do the Texans have less wins than us, but they also come in very depleted on both sides of the ball. This is what we should have did. And so I'm not taking away from the accomplishment of it, but at the same time, this is what we should do. As I talked about as I talk about every preseason, there's games that you should win. There's games that are going to be a challenge, and then there's games that you should be able to compete with. And this is one of those games that you should have won. And it was interesting seeing the votes was majority before the game that they thought we were unlikely to win. And so that was interesting to me. And it might just be you looking at it on paper, but to me, once I saw all the people that were out for the Texans, I was like, man, this should be an easy win, because I know how Watson is, especially without all those players, and I know how the Texans defense is. The Texans defense is one of the worst run defenses in the league. And that's the other thing, because obviously people are going to go crazy about Montgomery and all that. And again, I've talked about Montgomery this whole time, but let's call a spade a spade. Like, the Texans is not a great defense. And so, being able to look good, and that's the thing that blows me as fans, better Bears fans. I would hope you know that. I would hope you understand what's going on the last 2 weeks, because I listen to the announcers and some people online, and it's just like, what to me is just, it blows my mind, like how some of these people sound so completely ignorant. Like, they'll be like, oh, well, they really got the run game going this last few weeks, or they really came into their own, or something they've done has really gotten together, or this O-line's been together the last 3 games and it's really showing, or it's the fact that we're playing terrible teams. Because I'm pretty sure how we went back to back, or if we went the last few weeks going against like the Saints and the Packers and the Chiefs, that would look very different. And so it's not to poo-poo on what we're able to do, but at the same time, you have to put it into context. So there's that. And as far as the offense, I'll give a shout out again, getting into the weeds of it. I give a shout out to Nagy and his offensive staff that swallowed their pride a little bit and were able to kind of make this offense, I wouldn't say one-dimensional, but very simplistic. I know people are like, oh, we're putting up numbers and this and that, but if you watch the film I put up last night, if you watch this game, you'll recognize we're doing the same thing. And I put up a post. We're doing almost the exact same thing every time. And it is right out of the Sean McVay Rams playbook. It's a lot of bringing players from one side of the field to the other off play action and slipping them behind. It's a whole lot of that. And honestly, I'm not mad at it. Like, again, to swallow your pride, A, to switch it up, and then B, to look at other teams and adopt some of it. Now, the rate at which we do it is a little, whatever to me, but that's what gives Trubisky's confidence. That's what gives him easy throws. Obviously, the run game helping, or the run game being effective helps a whole lot because that makes the play action more effective, but also, that takes a little bit of the pressure off of Trubisky as well. And so, all that kind of comes together where you got this offense that's a little bit of what we've done before, but a lot of this whole, motion and play action and cross-field stuff. It's still not exactly what I would prefer in my own personal opinion, but it's been working for Trubisky. Now, the flip side of that, because some people love saying this, but it's working. And yeah, so it's working against bad teams. And so it is that's the messiness of it. Is this better fit for Trubisky? Yes. Is it more effective for him? Yes. But does this hold up against a real top competing team? No, it would not. You can't continue to do the same play over and over again, or variations of the same play. And then especially if the run game's not working, then you can't do it. But again, we've known this from the beginning. Well, maybe not everybody from the beginning, but I would say at least from the last 2 years, most people have known that the recipe is effective run, let Trubisky throw short or play action, and sprint out or boot, and some screens, and then let the defense keep us in the game. That's always been the best formula for us. And so, it's not surprised that it's happening. But when you're actually in a competitive game, that is not good enough. As I always say, you can't hide your quarterbacks in the playoffs. And so when it gets down to it, you have to be able to drop back, stand in the pocket, and make plays. Green Bay is a good example. Once we were blown out, that's what you had to do. And were we ever anywhere near ever going to come back in that game? No, because that's when you're really challenged as an offense to do something. And again, that can be fine if it's your best fit, but our best fit is limited. And that's what people just have to realize. But yeah, overall, I mean, we got to win. Some people might not like that. Some people might want a better draft pick, but we got the win, and I think we went out and did what we were supposed to do. So looks good to me. So go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.